Have you ever woken up with that tightness in your chest, feeling like the whole world is against you? That sensation that no matter how hard you try, it will never be enough? Emily knew this feeling all too well. At 22 years old, she carried the weight of the world on her shoulders. And the worst part was that nobody around her seemed to notice or care about the silent battles she fought every single day. Emily was the oldest daughter of a Christian family from the outskirts of a small town. Her father, Robert, had been a construction worker his entire life, but a fall at a job site had left him with injuries that prevented him from working. Her mother, Mary, woke up at 5 in the morning to clean houses and returned late at night, exhausted. Her younger siblings, Michael, age 8, and little Sarah, age 5, still didn't fully understand the difficult situation the family was facing. And in the middle of all this was Emily, trying to balance plates that always seemed about to fall. She had landed her first job at a telemarketing company downtown. For many, it was just another job, but for Emily, it was the answer to months of prayer. It was the chance to help pay the bills, buy her father's medications, and take some weight off her mother's shoulders. She always arrived early, stayed late, learned quickly, and did everything with excellence. After all, Mary always said, "Honey, whatever you do, do it as if you were doing it for the Lord." And that was exactly what Emily tried to do. But what she didn't expect was that this very dedication would become fuel for a cruel and silent persecution. The department supervisor, Patricia, a 35-year-old woman who had been in that position for 5 years, began to notice something that deeply bothered her. Emily, despite being young and inexperienced, had something she never had: genuine ability to lead, solve problems, and connect with people. And that was a threat. At first, it was small things. Patricia started ignoring Emily's suggestions in meetings. Then she began redistributing goals, always giving Emily the most difficult ones, the most complicated calls, the most aggressive clients. When Emily managed to hit her targets anyway, Patricia would find faults in her reports, point out errors that didn't exist, make sarcastic comments in front of everyone. "Oh, the little saint here thinks she knows everything because she read a few books, right?" It was the kind of phrase that came with laughter from other colleagues, Jessica and Vanessa, who quickly became accomplices of the supervisor. Emily tried to ignore it, but each comment was like a stone being placed on her back, and she was already carrying so many. She woke up at 5:30 to prepare breakfast for her siblings, get them ready for school, leave lunch ready for her father who stayed home, took 2 crowded buses to work, endured 8 hours of humiliation and pressure, returned home already at night, helped her mother with dinner, put the siblings to bed, and only then, well past midnight, could she lie down. But sleep wouldn't come. Her heart would race, her hands would sweat, her breathing would get short. The anxiety triggers were becoming more frequent and more intense. She tried to pray, but the words seemed unable to come out. She tried to read the Bible, but tears blurred the pages. And the worst part was the guilt. Why can't I trust God? Why do I feel this way if I know He cares for me? What's wrong with me? These questions hammered in her head every night. One day, Patricia crossed all limits. Emily had prepared a presentation to show an idea of how to improve customer service and increase client satisfaction. She had spent weeks collecting data, creating charts, all in her free time. When the day came for the meeting with management, Patricia simply took Emily's presentation, put her own name on it, and presented it as if it were hers. Emily was paralyzed. She looked around expecting someone to say something, but everyone lowered their heads. Jessica and Vanessa exchanged knowing looks with Patricia. The manager praised Patricia's excellent initiative and ended the meeting. Emily left there trembling, not with anger, but with a mix of injustice and powerlessness. She went to the bathroom, locked herself in a stall, and cried until she had no more tears. That night, when she got home, she found her father awake in the living room, reading the old Bible he always carried. Robert noticed his daughter was different. "Come here, sweetheart. Sit here next to Dad." Emily broke down. She told him everything: the persecution, the humiliation, the stolen presentation, the anxiety attacks, the feeling of failing God by not being able to have peace. And Robert, with that simple wisdom that only those who have been through a lot have, held his daughter's hand and said something that would change everything. "Em, you know which verse helped me the most when I fell and thought I had lost everything? Philippians 4 verse 6. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God." Honey, this doesn't mean we won't feel anything. It means we don't have to carry it alone. You're trying to be too strong. But strength doesn't come from enduring everything silently. It comes from recognizing that you need help and taking it to God. And you know what else? This verse continues in verse 7. "And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." God isn't demanding perfection from you, Em. He's offering peace in the middle of the storm. Let me introduce myself. My name is David. I'm the creator of the Christ Reset channel. Subscribe to the channel and comment with a heart with lightning emoji, red heart, lightning, and I'll like and heart your comment, because the word of Christ's love penetrates our hearts and causes us a life reset. That conversation with her father was the turning point. Emily realized she was trying to control everything, carry everything, solve everything alone, and in the process, she was distancing herself from the only true source of peace. She started applying that verse in a practical way. Every morning before leaving for work, she would stop, kneel, and surrender the day to God. It wasn't a beautiful and elaborate prayer. It was raw and honest. "Lord, I can't take it anymore, but I know you can. I surrender this day into your hands. Give me peace. Give me strength. Show me what I need to do." And something started to change. Not externally, at least not immediately. Patricia continued with the persecution. Jessica and Vanessa continued with the malicious comments. But internally, Emily was different. The anxiety didn't disappear overnight, but she learned not to let anxiety define her. She began to take deep breaths when she felt the tightness in her chest, to remember God's promises when the accusing voices got too loud in her head. And then Robert gave a second piece of advice, as practical as the first. "Em, you have ability. You have education. You're good at what you do. Don't let these women steal your shine. Study more. Prepare yourself. Because when God opens the door, you need to be ready to walk through." Emily took this advice seriously. She started taking free online courses about management, leadership, and customer service. She watched video lessons on the bus ride, read articles during lunch break, took notes at night when everyone was already sleeping, not because she wanted to prove something to Patricia, but because she was preparing the ground for what God wanted to do in her life. It was 3 months of silent preparation, 3 months where Emily continued being excellent at work despite the persecution, 3 months where she continued praying, trusting, surrendering. And then it happened. A competing company, much larger and more structured, was looking for someone to take on a supervisor position. The selection process was rigorous, but someone had recommended Emily's name. She didn't even know who, but decided to try. On the day of the interview, Emily was nervous, but unlike before, she wasn't anxious. She had peace. She knew that if it was God's will, it would happen. And if not, He had something better prepared.
The interview was surprisingly good. The manager was impressed with her knowledge, with the way she articulated ideas, with the vision she had for improving processes. He made the offer right there. Salary twice what she was earning, full benefits, and she would start as supervisor of a team of 15 people. Emily couldn't believe it. She thanked him, asked for a day to think, and when she left there, she called her father. Robert cried on the other end of the line. "You see, sweetheart? God never abandoned you. He was just preparing you." Emily resigned from her old company. She gave notice with courtesy and professionalism. Patricia pretended not to care, but inside, she was worried. Without Emily, who would do her work with quality? Jessica and Vanessa, who only knew how to gossip but didn't produce half of what Emily produced, began to panic. But the real plot twist was yet to come. The company owner, Mr. Thompson, had a practice that no one in the company knew about. He periodically reviewed the recordings from the office cameras and audio, not out of distrust, but to understand team dynamics and identify problems. And what he saw made him furious. Months of recordings showed Patricia stealing Emily's ideas, publicly humiliating her, sabotaging her work. They showed Jessica and Vanessa laughing, making malicious comments, creating a toxic environment. And even worse, they showed that Emily's productivity was 3 times higher than the team average, but she was being systematically prevented from growing. Mr. Thompson called Patricia, Jessica, and Vanessa to a meeting. He put everything on the table: the recordings, the audio, the evidence. "You didn't just destroy a talented employee," he said with a firm voice. "You destroyed this company's culture. And because of your persecution, I lost someone who could have been my right hand. You're all fired for cause." Patricia tried to justify herself, but there was nothing to say. The evidence was all there. Jessica and Vanessa left in tears, but not of repentance, but of outrage at being caught. Meanwhile, Emily was at her new job, leading a team with excellence, being respected, using her gifts the way God always planned. The higher salary allowed the family to finally breathe financially. Robert was able to get the treatments he needed, Mary reduced her workload, Michael and Sarah saw their older sister truly smile again. But the most important thing about all of this wasn't the promotion, nor the higher salary, nor divine revenge against those who persecuted her. The most important thing was the lesson Emily learned in the valley of anxiety and persecution. She learned that Philippians 4:6 isn't just a pretty verse to post on social media, it's a lifestyle. It's the daily choice to not carry alone, to not try to control everything, to trust that God is in control even when everything seems to be falling apart. She learned that anxiety isn't lack of faith. It's part of the human experience. But the difference between being destroyed by anxiety and being strengthened through it lies in where you take that anxiety. When you take it to God, in prayer, with thanksgiving, recognizing that He is greater than any storm, something supernatural happens. The peace that transcends all understanding, that peace that doesn't make logical sense, that doesn't depend on circumstances, guards your heart and your mind. Imagine the future. 5, 10 years from now, you look back and realize that that period of anxiety, of persecution, of feeling like everything was falling apart, was actually the period when God was molding you for something greater. You no longer see those sleepless nights as wasted time, but as time of preparation. You no longer see those tears as a sign of weakness, but as seeds of a strength that could only come from God. And most importantly, you realize that at no moment, not for a second, did God let go of your hand. He was there in the early morning when you couldn't sleep. He was there on the crowded bus when you cried quietly so no one would see. He was there in the humiliating meeting when no one defended you. He was there holding you, preparing you, keeping you. God's peace doesn't mean absence of problems. It means God's presence in the middle of problems. And when you have that presence, you don't need to fear the future because you know who holds the future in His hands. And now I want to know from you. Are you carrying anxiety alone? Are you trying to be too strong and forgetting to seek the peace that only God can give? Have you let other people's persecution define your value? Do you believe God is preparing something greater, even when everything seems to be falling apart around you? Are you ready to surrender your fears and anxieties to God and experience the peace that transcends all understanding? Leave your answers here in the comments. This is the Christ Reset channel. Did you leave your like? Did you share with friends? Did you subscribe to the channel? Thank you very much and see you in the next video. Don't forget to watch the previous video that's appearing on your screen because the love of Jesus is alive for all of us and He wants to transform your anxiety into peace, your fear into confidence, and your pain into purpose.